Hey guys, so I don't make too many videos like this, but I want to take a few minutes today to talk about something that's pretty important to me, and that is the command experience system in Star Wars The Old Republic. This is a new system for progression at level 70. It was introduced a few months ago in 5.0, and to say the least, there's been a lot of mixed emotions and issues with the system since it launched. Bioware has also acknowledged that the system is not nearly as good as it could be, and they are introducing some changes to make it a little better at the end of January, but honestly I'm not sure those changes are really going to fix all the problems with it, and in some ways you could even argue that they cause problems of their own. So I think there are really four simple fixes that Bioware could do to this system to take it from a kind of confusing and really messy and just not fun grind, and to make it into something that actually encourages players to play the game and to enjoy the game. So the first of those changes is simply to make CXP a legacy-based system instead of a character-based system. And honestly, I'm really surprised that Bioware didn't do this to begin with. For the past few years, they've been encouraging us more and more to see the different storylines, to play different ults, to build up our entire Star Wars legacy. And especially with the Dark V Light event, they really encourage players, new and old, to get in there and to sort of become ultaholics. And then as soon as 5.0 hit, it's like, wait, now we want you to stop playing all those ults and really focus on just one character, because that's the only way you're really going to get good gear in any decent time period and be able to complete the harder content in the game. And for somebody like me, who likes playing a lot of different classes and a lot of different specs and really likes working on your character and your legacy, that really takes a lot of fun out of the game, because now I feel like I'm being punished for playing multiple tunes, whereas somebody who put the same amount of time in the game but only played one tune would have much better gear on that tune and thus be able to participate in the more difficult content. And one of the things that I think Star Wars really does well, and I think most people would agree, is the character customization system, where you can buy thousands of different outfits at this point, and dyes, and weapons, and weapon modifications, and lightsaber crystals, and titles, and speeders, and different emotes. There's just so many ways to really customize a character and to make them your own. And the game really flourishes because even when you get to 70, people like playing all their different characters, whether it's for uprisings or flashpoints, operations, war zones, whatever it is you like doing at 70, chances are for most players you'd like to do it on many different tunes. Maybe you have tunes on different factions, maybe you like playing different specs on those tunes, maybe you have some melee characters, some range characters, a healer, a tank, and you like kind of switching up your roles, or even if you just like playing one class. A lot of people that I know like just one or two classes, but they still have multiple characters of those classes just because they like building their own Star Wars legacy and don't want to be playing the exact same character all the time. So for those players, and I count myself among them, it really, really sucks to have to do this grind, not just once, which would be daunting enough, but then to do that on every single character that we want to really play in a competitive setting. It's too much, I think, to ask one player to do. So really all they have to do is take it from being a character-based system, make it a legacy-based system, and even with just that one change, I can tell you, at least from my experience, I would be so much more enthusiastic about logging into the game if I knew that I could log in, pick whatever character I feel like playing, whatever spec I feel like playing, do whatever kind of content I feel like doing that day, and get CXP to advance my entire legacy, to make my Star Wars collection of characters more powerful. That would really incentivize me to play the game a lot more than logging on one tune and knowing, hey, if I feel like playing Shadow Tank today, then I'm not making any progress on the tunes I play more frequently, which are the ones that could really use the better gear. So I really implore you, Bioware, if on the off chance you end up watching this, please make it a legacy-based system. And I know there's been talk of doing some kind of system to make it a little more legacy-friendly. For example, if you get to like some level on your first tune, then every other tunes you level up with CXP get double experience or something like that until they get to that level. And that would definitely be better than what we have, but it still, in my opinion, doesn't really fix the source of the problem, because a lot of players don't want to get one character to a really high level and then stop playing that character entirely and go back and play a different tune and get experience faster that way. We'd rather be playing multiple characters at the exact same time and level them all up simultaneously as part of our legacy, especially for people like me who enjoy playing multiple classes. Like, I have 3 characters I've sort of limited myself to playing post 5.0. A Sage, a Shadow, and a Gunslinger. And even then, I miss playing my Sentinel, I miss playing my Vanguard, I haven't touched my Imperial tunes, because if I did, I would be taking time away from my Republic tunes when I could be getting CXP on those tunes who could actually use them. So it would be a lot more efficient to players who want to play not just 1 or 2 classes, but who want to play multiple classes simultaneously, if all those classes contributed to a single CXP pot. And even if Bioware because I'm trying to think why they would not make it legacy in the first place. And besides maybe a mechanical issue, the only thing I can really think of would be they wanted to make it more of a grind so that players, the really hardcore players who get to like level 300 after a couple months, still have something to do by then starting the grind all over again on their other tunes. And even if the grind is easier, say it's twice as fast, I honestly don't think that's going to motivate them to make that same grind all over again. If somebody has spent months and months and months playing one character, chances are they're a person who just enjoys playing at least predominantly that one character. Whereas the players who do enjoy playing multiple alts, they want to be playing them all along. They don't want to wait 5 months or a year, however long it takes to get to level 300, before they can really play their alts and have them catch up. And the final reason that I think they should just make it one simple CXP legacy system, as opposed to making the grind a little easier to do it on alts, is because there are a lot of players, and again myself among them, who don't just have one character from each advanced class. We have a lot of characters of each advanced class, and I'm including mirrors in that as well. Like for example, I have I think 5 shadows and assassins and 4 sages and sorks. And even if they make the grind a little easier on alts, that still disincentivizes me from playing any more than one of each advanced class. And I spent a lot of time on each of these characters, developing their backstories, making cool outfits, getting them titles and speeders they want. So even if they make that grind, it disincentivizes me from playing any of those tunes, because I could play 3 shadows and they'd all get CXP a third as fast, or I could stick to just one shadow and actually have some chance of getting to a decent CXP level to get decent gear in a somewhat reasonable time frames. So I really hope, Bioware, that you just decide to make things really, really simple. You've built such a great series of incentives for people to gear up a number of ults and to really fall in love with a collection of characters, their whole unique Star Wars legacy. So I really implore you, please, please, please just make CXP a legacy-based system so that we can all continue to enjoy all of our ults on both factions, no matter what their roles or disciplines, and not have to worry that we're holding back our main characters because one day we feel like playing a different Star Wars tune, because that's not going to incentivize us to play more characters. That's going to make us just frustrated with the game that we can't spend our time playing the characters we really feel like playing. And when the game feels like a chore, that's when you start to really lose the hardcore players. So that's change number 1, just make it legacy CXP. Now, the second change really builds up the first and is very much related to it, because once you have a CXP system, the other change that I think needs to go hand in hand with it is to make the actual CXP crates bound to legacy. I don't think that would be that difficult to do technologically, because it's already programmed that when you open a crate, whatever spec and character you're on decides what kind of gear you get. So really, I would think that all they would have to do is make the command crates bound to legacy, and that way you could trade them to whatever character you're trying to gear at that time in your legacy. And that way you don't have to, like, say you're a sliver away from hitting the next command level. You don't have to go, wait guys, I want to play my Sage, but let me go switch to my Gunslinger real quick and run a random heroic or something just to make sure I hit the next command level and get the next command crate on the tune I want it on. The way to make the system really efficient and really fun and stress-free to play is to make it legacy-wide and then make the command crates as well legacy-wide, so that you can send the gear you earn to whatever character you want to use it on at that time. Now, the third change I would suggest is not related to legacy. This is related to a different concern, and that's that the RNG system, while it can be exciting in a way to open a command crate and not know what you're going to get, it can also be really frustrating to a lot of players who are going to be rather unlucky and just not get the pieces they want or get duplicates of ones they already have, which I know from a lot of people I've talked to can be really frustrating and really turn them off from this system. Bioware is trying to fix this via a system they are implementing on the 24th, and I'm reserving judgment, but I do tentatively think that system might be a step in the right direction, depending on how many tokens things cost and what the chances are of the ops bosses dropping loot. But the other kind of stated reason for implementing the CXP system in the first place was that Bioware believed the way of gearing pre-5.0 was too complicated. I'm not really sure that was the case, but I guess I can kind of understand how with all the different tokens you change in, and you have to go to the right gear vendor and get the right set bonus, how it might be confusing for players who had just hit level 70 for the first time or were completely new to the game and had just used one of those character tokens. So I can kind of see where they're coming from there. But if that's their goal or one of their main goals in making CXP, I don't understand why they're doing this insanely complicated system in order to remedy that issue. Like, I was trying to explain to some friends how the system works, and these are people who have been playing the game since launch. They understand the systems pretty well, and just trying to explain to them how you need to do PvP to get tokens, and then you assemble those tokens into a gear token, which you combine with other tokens from the crates. It's just a really complicated system. Like, I even referring them to the flowchart, it was kind of hard to get them to see what you had to do to actually do all those steps and get a piece of gear. A much simpler way of addressing that issue, in my opinion, is just make every 20 command levels, you get one unassembled loot token, and it would just be called like unassembled IOCAT loot token or whatever tier you're on. And you get that, you can trade it in to any one of the vendors, you can get any of the 14 or 12 pieces that you want from them, you can get an earpiece, you can get a set bonus belt, whatever it is. So maybe you've been grinding all the way up and you just haven't gotten lucky and haven't gotten a headpiece or a belt. You can use those tokens and trade it in, get the belt or the headpiece you're missing, and voila, nice and simple. You have an incentive to get to these 20-point milestones, and you have a very nice reward for those players who just aren't lucky and haven't gotten the gear they needed through the command crates. For ranks 20, 40, 60, and 80, I would do like a tier 1 token, so you can only buy tier 1 pieces with it. For 100, 120, 140, 160, I would just do the tier 2 ones, and then for 180, 200, 220, etc., all the way up to 300, you get a tier 3 piece. And at that point, I would assume that every 20 command levels you get after 300, you would also get one of those pieces. So I think that's a much simpler system than what Bioware is currently implementing. I don't expect them to backtrack and undo it, before it even launches. So we'll see how it goes, and we'll see if it fixes the problems. But if they're concerned that it's too complicated of a system, which I think might be a fair criticism, this would be a much simpler way to just make it every 20 levels, you get a command token or a loot token, you can trade in for any piece you're missing, and everybody can understand that really easily. And it also encourages you to really grind towards those next 20-point milestones and to keep at it. And as a nice additional side effect, I know there's been a lot of players complaining that, oh hey, so only the ops and PvP players can really get the best gear from this new system. All the rest of us just have to cross our fingers and hope for RNG. And personally, I'm not a big fan of that criticism because I agree with Bioware, you should have to do the hardest content to get these nice bonus prizes. But this system that I'm proposing would have the nice added side effect of helping those players as well, because no matter what content they like doing to get their CXP, everyone, no matter if you're PvPers or hardcore PvEers or just casual players, every 20 levels you get your freebie piece, you can trade in whatever you want. It's nice, it's simple, it's easy to understand, and I don't think it would be that difficult for Bioware to implement. So those are the 3 big changes that I think could really take the system from something that honestly is just really frustrating and discouraging. And this is coming from somebody who's played the game since launch, who loves this game. I still really enjoy playing it. I love doing operations, I love doing PvP, I have a lot of fun playing this game with my friends, but I can't explain how sucky it is to log into a tune that I want to play and know that I am holding myself back, and by extent my raid group back as well, and my PvP teammates, because I'm not focusing on just the same character 100% of the time. So I really hope that Bioware listens to fan feedback and that they had the guts to, they're committed to the system, and I understand that, and I don't fault them for it. I understand what they're going for, but there are a lot of changes that are really simple changes that could make this system a lot less painful for their entire player base. The 4th and final change is not really as direct of a change, I guess, but it's something that I do want to take a moment to comment on. And that is the different activities that grant CXP and the imbalance between them. And this is something else that Bioware has also acknowledged and has said that they are continually working towards. And they've shown that already. They've already made changes to which activities grant the most CXP. Now, at the moment, the best CXP per minute comes from Veteran Uprisings. And I do hope Bioware takes another look at that, because, let's face it, Veteran Uprisings just aren't that hard to do, and they really are kind of grindy after you've done them a couple times. So the fact that they also give the most command XP per minute just doesn't make a lot of sense to me, and it's contrary to Bioware's stated goals. They've stated that they, and I would completely agree with this, that the most difficult content in the game should give you the most CXP per minute, whether that's ranked war zones or the high-end operations. Those should be the biggest reward, because one, you have to find a really good group and assemble that group to do those pieces of content, so that in alone takes time and effort. And then completing the content takes skill, it takes dedication. It's not just something that you can do mindlessly like heroics or story chapters or some of the easier uprisings or flashpoints. So in my opinion, Bioware, and this is the 4th change I would recommend, really increase the amount of command XP that you get from operations. I think war zones, they already give a pretty competitive rate of XP. Maybe you could nerf the Veteran Uprisings a little bit to bring them into line, or buff PvP a little bit to bring it into line, and definitely buff ranked a little bit as well. Especially I think group ranked would be even more encouraged if it had another 20% bonus on top of it. But operations, I think, are the ones that really suffer right now, because it's just not really that efficient of a way to get CXP by doing these operations, when you could just be running veteran uprisings, or even PvP in the same amount of time. For example, my guild group, this last week we did 2 nights of operations. On the first night we ran through hard mode, or veteran mode it's called now, Scum and Villainy. We just did the first 6 bosses, because Tyrak is a very intense DPS check. And it took us about maybe 20 minutes to get the group together, to get everybody, decide who's doing what roles, and to make sure we were all ready to go and in the instance. And then it took about another, I'd say 2 hours, maybe a little less than that, to do the first 6 bosses of Scum and Villainy, which is a series of fights that we already know pretty well and that aren't too difficult as far as hard modes go, as long as you know the fights and are relatively comfortable with your class. Now in those 2 hours, you get 6 of those little small command XP boxes from the operations. And opening those, you would get a total of 3,600 CXP. So 3,600 CXP, let's say you pop a few bonuses when you consume those, so let's round it up to 4,000. That's about 2,000 per hour. At the same time, people have done the math, and by farming the fastest uprisings over and over again, the vet uprisings, you can very easily get 6 to 7k CXP per hour. That's 3 times as much as doing a hard mode operation, which takes twice as many people and is much more difficult on top of that. So, and this is one of the longer operations as well, so the other ones are even less efficient than that. So I really think that Bioware could do with upping, go ahead and, in my opinion, up them all by 50%. Every single operations crate, if you increased it by 50%, I don't think that would be too heavy-handed, and I do think it would encourage people. What's the worst case scenario here? If you make the ops the best way to get CXP, people will do lots of ops and be encouraged to do ops, and I don't see in any way why that would be a bad thing. Ops require a lot of people, which means you make more friends, which means you're going to stick with the game longer. They require good gear and a knowledge of your class, which again, keep people playing and give people a reason to do the CXP grind and to keep at it, whereas if somebody just does heroics or even regular war zones all day, they don't really have a reason to go for the best gear because you don't really need it for those kinds of content. But for players who are getting into operations for the first time, maybe they see it's a way to get good CXP, they join some pug groups, and they maybe join a PvE guild and realize, hey, to do these harder operations, which give really good CXP rewards, I need to spend more time practicing my class, I need to play more to get more CXP and get more gear, and do more story mode operations on top of that. And if they do that, they're playing the game more, which is really Bioware's goal from this entire system. So, and then the other night last week, we spent in hard mode EC, which is even harder than Scum and Villainy, with the exception of Tyrak. And we took a couple attempts to get the first boss down, Zornitov, which is a fairly difficult boss, at least at our gear level. And we spent the rest of the night working on the tanks, and at the end of the night, we did get them down. It was a very intense DPS check, but we did manage it. And for that, what do we get? Another 600 command experience crate. So for that entire night of doing some very difficult content, we got 1,200 CXP, which just really wasn't worth our time at all. We did that because, we love the challenge and we love the op, but these harder ops and the harder boss fights really should be dropping significantly more XP than any other content in the game, except maybe group ranked or solo ranked as well, I guess you could put in there. And right now they just don't. So, yeah, sorry if I went on a bit of a ramble and a bit of a rant there, but I really love this game, and I really feel strongly that Command XP, it's not working right now. It does not incentivize me and people I know from playing the game. It's actually turned off a lot of people from playing the game because they can't just do the activities they want and have fun with their friends anymore. And I really think that by making it legacy, by making the command crates legacy, by giving you a guaranteed piece of loot every 20 command ranks, and by making operations a little more beneficial in terms of your bang for your buck, the amount of CXP you get from a minute of doing this harder content, that would be a series of great ways to take the system from something that's just really frustrating and make it into something that I actually think would be a fairly good system. And I think most players, if you made these changes, would really appreciate the fact that Bioware listened to player feedback and was willing to sort of, modify the system they sculpted, and they weren't so attached to it that they just stuck to their guns and say, nope, this is our system, deal with it. So I really hope that on the off chance Bioware is listening, that you guys take these suggestions to heart, listen to player feedback, please keep working on this system, try to make it better, because I think there's a lot you can do to make it a lot more enjoyable, and I really hope you go that route. So for those of you who watch this, thank you very much. Let me know what you think of these ideas, if you think they would be helpful, or maybe you have other ideas you want to share. Feel free to post it in the comment section below. That's basically all I have to say about CXP, so thank you guys for watching. May the Force be with you.